am going to be your Toastmaster today, and I want to congratulate each and every one of you to come on this wonderful April Fool's Day. It is considered a religious holiday in my family. Apparently it is somebody else's holiday as well, because we found a little friend waiting on the counter for me when I got in here today. So, you know, depending on how fast somebody thinks, that might be somebody's audience companion. We have a full speaker roster. Some nervous, some not so nervous. We have some wonderful guests, some returning, some new, as well as a lot of announcements today. But first things first, we have a new member that has to be voted in first.
Oh.
Kaylee would be our person to make this announcement and run our voting in ceremony. We can all welcome Kaylee.
Perfect. Afternoon, everyone. I'm Kaylee, and I am the Vice President of Education. And in Amy's absence, Amy's our president, and normally she would do the induction or our Vice President of Membership, but both of them are out today. So I am going to be doing our induction of Stacy. So if Stacy would please leave the room for just a moment. She's going to go out in the hall with Sarah, and we will have our voting, and then we will welcome Stacy back.
Before we start clapping, I want to make a request that everybody just grumble really loudly for a couple seconds before clapping.
Oh, no!
All right, Kaylee.
All right. So Stacy Johnson has requested membership into our High Nooners Club, and would we like to accept her as a new member? Yay! Welcome to the club.
Some other announcements. We are still waiting for our area governor, who probably would send out and make the announcement that we have our Area 86 contest April 10th in Winona, and it is held at the Winona Chamber of Commerce. And it is from 6:30 to 9 with registration beginning at 5:45 p.m. So that's a Friday evening. I do believe that there is some chatter of carpooling for those who would wish to do so. So if you have an interest in going but would like to go green and carpool, send out an email to all the members and just go fishing for who else is going to see if you can make arrangements and attend our area contest. Another announcement, and I'm going to say this while Tanya's not in the room to get embarrassed, but she has, in my opinion, one of the most wonderful wedding anniversary dates, which is today. That is what she told me, and I would just say there are a couple people in my department who have a birthday today, which I'm always tickled to find people that have birthdays on today. As a matter of fact, it is often commented to me that people think that myself is an April Fool's baby born a day late. For those of you really bad at math, it was not yesterday. I have had that person ask me if I was born on March 31st, so it's just carry the one, it's tomorrow. Just so you know. Another announcement today is the spring convention. That is also coming up soon. It is going to be May 1st and 2nd. It is the convention for District 6, if I'm not mistaken. And it is going to be held at the Minneapolis Ramada Plaza. I don't know if I'm dyslexic on that title of that place, but if you go to D6TM, is it .org or .com?
Or.
That is our District 6 website, and one of the top banners when you go to that website is the announcement for the spring convention. And it has all of the links for staying overnight versus the prices for the whole convention versus daily activities and a breakdown for everything. And again, their theme this year is Fiesta. I think they're preempting the Cinco de Mayo is my interpretation of that. So, are there any other announcements by anybody in officers or anybody else? With that being said, I would like to welcome down our grammarian. She is amazing and is our word warden for the day. I would like to welcome Elizabeth to
Was that what?
A pun. Amazing.
I think it was purposely done. However, I will take it in good faith. Fellow Toastmasters and most distinguished guests, I am your grammarian today. To start with, I provide the word of the day, so anybody with a raw, I would encourage you to use this very hard to remember word. So, foolish in the context of this sentence, she has been taking foolish risks because she does not attend Toastmasters. I will be watching for colorful language as well as speech connectors and use of the word of the day. So make sure you do that or I'll be hinting you. And if I can, I will also look for improper grammar.
We next have our timer, who will help to ensure that us people running and speaking at this meeting do not run too long, like your current Toastmaster. And she will come down and hopefully not make me look too foolish.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters and most distinguished guests and Mr. Toastmaster. And Chris did a good job of explaining what my role is. I just keep track of the time of the speaking, make sure we don't go over so we can all fit into an hour. And I'm going to go through and say how many minutes each section is. And I always sound foolish because I always get the time wrong, so I'll try and get it right this time. First we have our speakers, and those are usually 5 to 7 minutes long. And when you hit your 5-minute mark, then you'll see the green card, and there's also a light in the back of the room with the green light turning on. When you have 1 minute left, you'll see the yellow card and the yellow light. And when you're at your time limit, you'll see the red card and the red light. And if you go 30 seconds over, then we have a buzzer back there that will buzz. And today is just an extra treat. I'm going to be pressing the buzzer unexpectedly throughout the speeches, just to see how well we can compose ourselves under distraction. It's April Fool's Day, so I won't really do that. So don't worry. Then we have our table topics speakers, and those go 1 to 2 minutes long. At 1 minute, you'll see the green. At 1.5 minutes, the yellow, and at 2 minutes, you'll see the red. And we were also kind of thinking about what to do with this one. We're thinking maybe doing 5 minutes for the table topics instead today of 2 minutes. So if we have time, then maybe we'll go. Probably don't have time for that. So 20 minutes? I don't think we'll next week maybe. Just 2 minutes. Just kidding. Just try to stay up here for 1 minute. And the evaluators have 2 to 3 minutes, and you'll see the green at 2 minutes, the yellow at 2.5, and the red at 3 minutes. That's my timers. Roll.
Okay, now it is time for our speakers. Now, our first speaker, I'm going to go with the original introduction. She claims that she has changed her speech, title, and purpose, but I'm taking it with a grain of salt today. With that being said, our first speaker today recently began competing regionally in chicken agility trials. Today, she will speak from her Make Them Laugh project that is found in the Entertaining Speaker Advanced Communication Manual. The title of her speech that she originally gave me is Parking Misadventures, and she has asked for 5 to 7 minutes. Please welcome Deanna Constance.
Wonderful introduction. I truly am going to be presenting a dramatic speech today, despite what you think foolishly. Today I'd like to share with you a bit of a cautionary tale, something that happened to me, and I present it for you here today in the hopes that I may prevent any of you having such a horrible mishap as I did with my parking misadventure. It started on a crisp January morning. Fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. I was the driver for a Mayo Clinic vehicle, fleet number 6, and in case you're not familiar with that, it is also known as a minibus, a 15-passenger vehicle. I have a visual aid for you in case you'd like to see. Myself as the driver and 2 cardiologists, 3 nurses, and 3 marketing staff departed Rochester Mayo campus at 7 a.m. for Minneapolis, the Marriott City Center Hotel. We had a wonderful ride up to the cities, chatting away as we go, and when we arrived, my plan all along had been to valet park. I had driven this vehicle 2 other times, both times parking in an open lot, no problem. We arrived at our destination. I pulled up to the valet parking spot, and the most powerful doctor in the back said, "Don't valet park! Pull up to the parking ramp and park there. We're going to be an hour late going home if we have to wait for the valet parking at the end." So me, cowardice that I am, decided to listen to her instead of me. We pulled directly up to the parking ramp, and ahead is a large orange sign, clearance, 6 feet, 9 inches. I crept along. We approached the sign. The antenna hits the sign. It ricochets back and forth. Now, a smart person would back up. But because the antenna hit it and it moved back and forth, I wasn't entirely sure that the roof had hit it. So we proceeded in. All was well. No problem. The cement barriers at the top of the roof, close to my sight line, making me want to cringe and duck. But we went through the ramp until we hit the first corner. And that's when things got ugly. First, the cement barriers started lowering. And then I heard it. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Every 3 feet as I moved slowly through the parking ramp. Crunch, crunch, crunch. I turned around. There's a car behind me. It's a one-way ramp. I can't back up. I can't pull over. I'm in this huge box. Nothing to do. We have to move forward. I pull into the first open spot, which happens to be the valet parking spot. Go there. And we proceeded to go into a conference. I had 2 of my colleagues run downstairs to the valet parking spot, or the valet parking attendants, just to let them know what had happened so I didn't get a ticket. Like, that was my biggest problem. And they reassured us, don't worry, leaving, you'll be okay. So we had our conference, and at the end, we loaded up all our gear, got into the ramp, but now there's traffic leaving the ramp, as everybody is leaving the luncheon. I back up, and we start to proceed down. And still it's crunch, crunch, crunch. As we approach the exit, there's lines of traffic. One gate open. The doctor says, "What are you hesitating for? Just gun it!" So, I inch forward, and as I go down, the back end goes up. And here comes the most horrendous sound of all. Imagine tortuous metal and cement scraping each other. Beads of sweat are running down me. It's fight or flight. And man, I wanted to flight, let me tell you. We made it out the gate. I got onto the freeway and we made it home. Whew! When we got to the Mayo campus, excuse me, I got out of the driver's side, and I'm 5'2", 5'3" on a good day. I had to get on the step to look at the roof on the driver's side. It didn't look that bad, just a little paint scrape. They would never know. One of the other doctors, much taller than me, looked at the back end and said, I think it's worse than a little paint scrape. Exhibit B. Later, I was told I would have been very lucky that I didn't actually shear off the back of the door panels. There's a lip, and it completely caught that lip and almost ripped the rear end off. So, my friends, a cautionary tale I leave you with. Always follow your gut instinct, and always, always valet park.
Thank you for not making me look foolish by giving out the wrong title. I much
It still
appreciate
was
that.
dramatic though, wasn't it?
There was drama. There was intrigue. May we have 1 minute for filling out our evaluation forms. All right, it sounds like that was our minute. Now we go on to our second speaker, who was very lucky that we voted in her favor earlier. She would like to give her icebreaker speech on her very first day as a member in good standing. She is another competitive soul and strong Toastmaster and enjoys the recreational sport of styrofoam barbell deadlifting. And is currently our club champion. The title of her speech is The Protector, and she has asked for 5 to 7 minutes. Please welcome Stacy Johnson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests. The artist, the nurturer, the inspirer. Each of us contains a continuum of personality traits that make us who we are. The Myers-Briggs type indicator test measures the differences in personality based on 4 pairs of characteristic types. Today I'm going to talk about myself in terms of my personality, which is one of the rarest personalities, one of the most interesting, the protector. The first pair of characteristics of the Myers-Briggs type indicator measures is where a person finds their energy. Do you find your energy with people or alone? Introvert or extrovert? I'm an introvert. Doesn't mean that I'm shy. I'm not shy at all. But people, being with people, exhausts me. And when I have time to myself, and I am tired, I want to be alone to recover from those social interactions. The second pair of characteristics measures the way that a person takes in information about the world around them, sensing or intuitive. I'm intuitive. get very excited about possibilities, about potential. When I look at a person, I can see who they are, and I can see what they could be. And I want to help. I want to help them be the best that they can. The third set of characteristics measured by the MBTI is how you make decisions, thinking or feeling. I'm a feeler. I think the best example of this is disciplining my little sweeties. I set standards for them, and they have consequences, and I think it's important to follow through on those consequences. But it's really, really hard for me when, let's say they have the rule is they have to pick up their toys, and the consequences, if they don't pick up their toys, then they don't get snuggle time at bedtime. Of course, they don't pick up their toys. And it's so difficult when I have my little sweetheart, and what he wants is snuggle time with mommy, and his little brown eyes are filling up and spilling over with tears, and I know that I can bring back the sunshine, and it would be so easy. And I know that as he grows up, there's going to be so many times that there are going to be things that are going to hurt him that I'm not going to be able to fix with a hug. Internal conflict is a constant companion to the protector. The third set of characteristic pairs is how you how you organize yourself in terms of the external world. I'm a judger. That doesn't mean I'm judgmental. It means that I like things orderly, prepared. I like to know what's coming next. I like to know how to predict what's going to happen next. Just recently, I decided to have a garden for the first time in a couple of years, so I needed to go back and look and see what seeds I had and what seeds I needed. And I actually had to laugh at myself because I opened up my binder of seeds and I had organized my seeds by type and by kind. And I had also cut out little bits of information from the seed catalog when I'd ordered them 6-7 years ago, and I put a little pouch with the seeds so I would know what they looked like when they bloom. And then, of course, the first thing I did was reorganize them. The combination of these 4 traits, introvert, intuitive, feeling, and judging, results in a personality trait called the protector. I am fiercely protective, I'm loyal, and I am supportive. The challenges that come with being in this personality are very closely related to the strengths. I am protective, it's my instinct. I want to stand in front of, between whatever the problem or the pain-causing issue might be and the people that I love. But I also see the potential for what they can be, and I know that if I protect them from everything, they're not ever going to grow into what they can be. So, internal conflict. I'm loyal. But when you are loyal to someone and you want to support them, and what they are doing might be something that you don't support yourself, then a conflict. I see the potential. I look at you and I see your potential. I see your potential. I see my potential. And that results in a lot of disappointment, because all of us are human. We're beautiful. We're complicated. And we're flawed.
There's our minute. One last comment about Stacy's speech. If your wonderful insight had told you anything, I have to commend your bravery for being a speaker at a meeting where I am the Toastmaster.
Maybe she's just foolish.
That could very well be, or she's a risk taker.
There you go.
One of the things that I touched very closely with, my wife told me that she had a similar mother who had to be very careful about what consequences she would explain if they were to carry through, And the story that sticks to my mind is she liked to climb, and they had an open staircase, and she would every now and then climb the wrong side of the stairs. And her mother had said, if you climb the stairs like that anymore and fall, I'm going to give you a spanking. After she made sure that she was okay after the fall, she had to follow through with giving the spanking, and I think that was probably one of the hardest consequences that she had to give. You know, life lessons. That is something that stuck with my wife and always, never fails to entertain me with parenting speeches. Okay, our timer is probably going to give me the buzzer pretty soon if I don't introduce our third speaker. Our third speaker initially seemed to be the quiet wallflower type of member until he was given the chance to give his own icebreaker. His apparent love of loud noises blossomed in his youthful boredom on a hot concrete sidewalk, a surplus of paper rolls of caps and large rocks. You have to be old enough to know what I am talking about. Raise a hand who had played with paper caps. Thank you very much. You made my day again. He has asked for 5 to 7 minutes for his speech titled Smile. Please welcome John Potter.
Now you're all expecting a serious speech from me. I know. But that would be foolishness. So, I want to take you back to a time, or have you think about somebody that makes you smile. Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. That person, one of those people for me, would have been my grandmother. She would have been 107 years old today. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She was stubborn. She was very proud of her heritage, and she was a lot of fun. Grandma would not listen to her daughters. They would tell her, Grandma or Mom, you need to take your medicine. No, I don't want to. And Grandma, you need to stop drinking so much coffee. She was a good Swede. She didn't measure her egg coffee by the cup, it was by the pot. And then she got in her upper 80s, and Grandma, and Mom, it's time for you to stop driving. You're hitting things in parking lots. She wouldn't listen to her daughters. Well, Grandma and I had a special relationship, and I could tell Grandma what she needed to do. And she wouldn't get mad at me. She'd get mad at her daughters, but not at me. She would actually listen to me and follow my instructions. She was a full-blooded Swede whose parents were immigrants from Sweden that in the late 1860s had settled in the prairie of western Minnesota. She did not speak any English until she went to grade school. Had a Swedish accent her whole life. She loved telling stories of when she was a little girl. You think I tell stories? You should hear my grandma's stories. And fortunately, I've got a lot of them written down. I have 100-page typed up stories from when Grandma was a little girl. Another thing she loved to do was the old country food. Oh, let me tell you, that meant lutefisk every Christmas. Yeah. My stomach still curls when I think of lutefisk. One Christmas, my sister-in-law's Ty, it was her first Christmas at the family Christmas. And she looked at this bowl of massive quivering whatever, and she proceeded to go in the kitchen and get the fish sauce, and doused the lutefisk with the fish sauce. Grandma did not know what to think. And Grandma also did not like Norwegians. And she would blatantly tell them she did not like Norwegians. Guess what? She had 4 grandchildren. 3 of her grandchildren married people with Norwegian heritage. And she would tell them, I I don't like Norwegians to their face. One of the other old country foods that she liked was pickled herrings. We had a couple different kinds of pickled herrings at Christmas all the time. And we also had lussekaker, which is a Swedish cheesecake. And Grandma used to make it, and would bring in, when she got older, she wasn't able to make it. So I said, okay, I'm gonna make it. And so the first thing in the recipe is a pail of whole milk. Okay, Grandma, how big a pail? A gallon, 5 gallon, 10 gallon? Well, just a pail of milk. Grandma, what are you talking? Well, it'll be 2 gallons of whole milk. And you add cream and sugar, and it's a real special Christmas treat because they take all the calories out on Christmas Day. But my grandma also loved to have fun. She would send me, when I was young, Dear John letters. And you know what? It's depressing to get a Dear John letter from your grandmother. So, after I told her that, she started saying, my little dearest Yanni. And I wasn't John or Johnny, it's Yanni all the time. And other people have picked up on my dearest little Yanni. So, I had lots of fun with Grandma, and she would live in a small rural farming community, and we could write Grandma Kecker, Lafayette, Minnesota, and we'd get to her. And if I wanted cookies, I'd say #1 cookie place, or add some goofy thing to the letters I would send to her. In 1987, I called her and said, and wished her happy birthday, and talked for a few minutes and said, hey, Grandma, guess what? I got engaged. And she was very excited, and it's like asking me all the details. How'd you meet? What does she look like? How did you propose? She asked questions for a half hour. Don't tell me. I have no remembrance of how I answered them. So, at the end of the conversation, I said, Grandma, happy birthday. And happy April Fool's Day! I was not engaged. She thought it was rather funny. So now I've told you a little bit about my grandmother. She was very stubborn. She was proud of her heritage, and it was a lot of fun.
I thought you were going to tell your grandma that she was Norwegian. If we could have one more minute, invite John back up here. He is one of our 2 double duty role fillers today. He is going to be our topic master. Welcome, John.
Professor and guests. I thought I would say with this foolish theme of April Fools. So I started, where did April Fools come from and what is it all about? And there's at least 3 different explanations. One is Pope Gregory in 1582 changed the new year from April 1st to January 1st. There's also Constantine. Another explanation is Constantine had some court jesters, and they said they could do a better job running the Roman Empire than he could, so for a day, the court jesters ran the empire, and it's quite fun, and it became an annual tradition. And then there was also where the French put a sign on people's back telling them to do various things. So, staying with that theme, but I'm going to see if I have any volunteers that want to come up, or else I'm going to pick. Okay, I'm going to pick on Elizabeth.
I'm the grammarian for
Yeah,
goodness
she's
sake.
a grammarian. She has a role.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just kidding, but.
You want to go? Okay. Okay. That's going to be hard. You get to say, tell us about some time that you played an April Fool's joke or pranked someone.
I can't think of a time particular. The thing that strikes me most about April Fool's Day is that my mom had 2 children that were very close. One, my youngest daughter, or my youngest sister, was born on March 31st. A year before that, my brother had been born on like the 5th of April. And that was her biggest fear out of the whole thing of having the baby, was that she didn't want it on April Fool's birthday. So, although some people like it because it's kind of an interesting time, she specifically didn't want to. I've been trying all day to think of something to do for an April Fool's since 6 o'clock this morning, and I'm just really very bad at it. I've been trying and trying to think of something, and I haven't come up with anything. So if there's anybody out there that has really good things, she looks like a professional. So I will connect with you. My husband deserves just a fun little something. So. Anyway, that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And even after, whatever, 20-some years, I still pranked my wife this morning and she fell for it initially. So, anybody else want to tackle the next question? This one will be easier, I think.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. Tell us about an embarrassing moment that you had, or some foolishness that you had, or that you witnessed an embarrassing moment or some foolishness.
I have it clean.
Yeah, keep it clean.
Mr. Topic Master, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests. Tell you about a time where I've been foolish. There are too many times. I'll tell you 2 times I've been foolish. One when I was yay high, and the other one I was yay high. The first time I was foolish was my first icebreaker speech. I talked about my love of basketball and how I grew up playing basketball and all the triumphs and all the greatness of basketball. However, I left out the stories about how I didn't always know what basket to shoot at. And I didn't understand the concept that when you're up 3 points with a few seconds left, you don't do a stupid shot because that gives the other team the ball back. And so the time that I was thinking of when I'm yay tall was I was playing in a tournament game at one of the local camps, and I got the ball. Who knows why they gave me the ball? Everybody knew that I was this type of person. And so their first mistake was giving me the ball. The second mistake was me shooting the ball at the wrong hoop with 3 seconds left. And of course, the ball went in too. My other foolish mistake was my buddy had a bachelor's party and we went to Vegas. And of course what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I will leave it with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Topic Master. All right. Now, I am going to pull one of Sarah Jensen's tricks, and now I am the general evaluator. Without the uniform bars and stripes. There is no rank involved in this role. I would like to call up Sarah T. to give the evaluation for the first speech.
So my first evaluation, I hope it isn't too foolish. Fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, and especially Deanna, your speech was very, very entertaining and funny. It sounds like something I would do. being in that situation or just following what someone was telling me to do. There was very descriptive language, so the crisp January morning, very good crunch, 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 torturous cement and metal, the cautionary tale. You use very good vocal fluctuation in the movements. Yeah, and that's kind of repeat, sorry. So I guess there's a couple areas for improvement that I kind of noticed, and the first one you can take as a grain of salt because I was kind of catching up on that. I had to take notes while you were talking. I was kind of enjoying it. So the first one, I thought the introduction could be a little more catching, like maybe starting with that crunch, crunch, crunch. I really liked that piece of it. Also, just kind of like a descriptive impact and how it affected you. I know in the situation I could think of myself like pulling on my hair and being yelled at by the doctor. There's just a lot of descriptive stuff you could have talked about there. But that was pretty much it. And the conclusion was very good, cautionary tale and an explanation of, you know, follow your instincts, and very good.
As a general evaluator, trying to do one of the most important roles of a meeting in giving feedback to our speakers, I feel I am doing our most honored guest a disservice by not explaining that this is one of the most important parts of our meeting. You don't grow unless you know what you need to grow in. And Joe has pointed out that you cannot employ Minnesota Nights. It is, you can give some very constructive feedback without being mean. However, you cannot give constructive feedback by telling somebody that whatever they did was wonderful. There is a fine balance. We have some wonderful manuals. There has been a lot of thought in putting these materials together to make each and every one of us better speakers, better presenters, better leaders. And so I would like to inform you that this is pretty much a lot of what Toastmasters is about. Yes, it's practice for speaking, but it is also interaction with our team, our club, in order to make us better than we ever were or could hope to be. With that, I would like to introduce Tom as our second evaluator.
Long time. Mr. General Evaluator / Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, yes, and most importantly, Stacy. First of all, welcome to the club. Your speech I thought was awesome. It was very direct and to the point, and you spoke with such ease and confidence. I don't know if that's how you felt up here, but the sense that I got was that you speak to people all the time. I know that you said you were an introvert, and so I'm assuming you're around people, but then you want to go back and kind of get in your own corner and decompress a little bit. But I think you handled the situation great. I think that you have tremendous poise up here. Your eye contact was great. Your speech pattern was good. I thought you used very good uses of the pauses and not using ums and ahs and those type connectors. I would recommend a few suggestions for you regarding your speech. Your introduction and your conclusion weren't as tying as I was looking for more of a grasping introduction to tell me who you are. I was thinking, especially from the introduction, about the weightlifting with I was anticipating something differently, and so I would work on trying to tie that in, and then the conclusion also, it just kind of felt like it drifted off and just stopped all of a sudden. But in terms of what the speech's objectives are, I think you hit them all on the spot. I mean, you have tremendous poise and such great speaking qualities up here. But on top of that, you told us who you are, you told us your personality type as a projector, and then the 4 areas that are within that, such as the introvert, the intuitive, feeling, and judgment. And you even told us a few examples. Another suggestion would have been maybe more examples of how intuitive you are, like specific examples, such as with your son, you talked about how you punish and not necessarily punish, but how you teach lessons so that he does what he's supposed to. But I like that you didn't use notes. I'm using your same suggestion. I think that's a good way to have your notes here, but not always necessarily use them. And then the last thing I will leave you with is you have a kind of a quieter voice. I would work on trying to extend your voice out a little bit. I think you have great fluctuations in it, and I think you have an amazing story. I mean, and so I really can't wait to hear all the coming speeches, especially having a kid. I can only imagine. Oh my gosh. All sorts of speech topics. But I applaud you. I thought you did a great job.
For our honored guests, and in the interest of being fully transparent, other than the speech titles and time requested, our speakers had absolutely nothing to do with their introductions.
I do chicken agility though.
I was very intuitive with that introduction, and
I am very
happen to,
quiet.
yes. So 2 out of 3 is not bad. Okay, if you do have some place to go at 12, we packed this meeting with a lot of fun and a lot of information, so please don't feel intimidated if you have to leave early, but we might run a few minutes over. I would like to ask our evaluator number 3 to come up and give her evaluation of John.
I will speak quickly in the interest of time. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, Toastmasters, and most welcome guests, and most especially John. Your speech was called The Smile, and it was focusing on the Your Body Speaks, and so there was a few items that I was looking for in particular that they have outlined in the manual. And one of the ones that I thought you did so well, I think you did well for all these things outlined, but your preparation, I could tell that you really prepared a lot for this speech, and you spent time thinking about what stories you wanted to tell about your grandma. And I like that you called out the 3 things that you were going to tell us specifically about her. And those 3 things were that she was stubborn, she was proud of her heritage, and that she was a lot of fun. And I think that was nice because we had something to go off of right away when you started speaking. And I think sometimes, especially when we start talking about people or telling various stories, it can be hard to remember what we were focusing on if you hadn't outlined that. But I'm glad that you did. That was really good. I think that you were definitely very poised throughout your whole speech. You had really good eye contact with the audience, and good voice fluctuation. And I thought this speech was really funny. I loved the stories that you told, and that she measured her coffee by the pot. That's awesome. I want to be like that when I'm older. And that she was hitting things in parking lots and didn't really like to listen to her daughters, but she always listened to you. I think some of the best lines that I heard in your speech were that your stomach still curdles when you think of Ludacris, and it was a massive quivering whatever. And then I think the 2 biggest gestures that I saw in your speech that helped us envision what you were talking about was the pail of milk. You said, is it this size pail, is it this size pail? And so that was a good use of gestures. And your proposal gesture where you actually got on one knee, that was good too. Some suggestions just for improvement is I would just use maybe a few more gestures. I think there was a couple other times that you maybe could have put some gestures in. But otherwise, I thought you did a really great presentation, and I like the way that you ended your speech in the same way that you had started it.
Now, we are, if it's okay, we would like to do our grammarian report, our umpire of the words. Elizabeth.
Hello again, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. I'll be rather quick. I will not talk about the colorful language because many of the evaluators already did, and believe me, just because of the topic of the day, there was a lot of colorful language. So I'll focus more on the constructive feedback. Speakers, you did very well with your pauses and use some ums. I mean, for the 3 speakers, I think I heard a total of 6 ums in 3 speakers, so that was probably really, really good. For Sarah, watch your hums and your kind of. Watch for the same thing. You had the kindness and the buts. Kaylee, you have a few hums. Try to get those. Other than that, I think it was really great. I heard 13 times the use the word of the day, and just because we were talking about foolish things, and you had another foolish thing to tell us, you won the prize with 4 times using the word. Thank you.
It was amazing. Very quickly, Sarah will give our timer's report from the back. She probably could have made a better use of the buzzer, and we will, thank you.
All right, everybody was within, most of us were within time. Deanna's speech was 6:11, Stacy 5:40, John 6:14. Bev's table topic was 1:17, Tom's table topic was 1:53. For evaluations, Sarah, you were at 1:41, just a little short, almost there. Tom, a little long at 3:21, and Kaylee was just right at 2:43.
All right. Doing double duty as the general evaluator and Toastmaster, I have to claim a conflict of interest. We had a wonderful meeting. And thank you very much for enjoying our meeting, and all you guests, I hope to see you again. Have a great afternoon.